Yesterday, Olight released their new Baton Turbo, which was designed to complement the arc felt perfectly. But, you know, I reviewed a couple things, but I never got to the Perun 3. Let's do it. Welcome back to Shul Lights. So the Perun 3, big headlamp. Is it good? Well, let's take a look. So here it is. You can see that it's a right angle configuration, meaning the light comes out the left side instead of the top like this. It's got a clip so that it can be used, you know, worn on a vest or something like that. But it also comes with the head, you know, gear. So you can slap it in here and wear it like a headlamp. And it is one of the ones that has the overhead strap if you want it. That can be removed. All right, let's jump right into it and talk about this light because it really impresses me. I really like it a lot. There's only a couple small niggles that I'll get to that I think could be improved in my opinion, but it's really awesome. So first off, taking a look at it, you can see that it's got a really attractive design, I feel. And when you unscrew the tube, it's not the whole tube, it's just the cap. So I kind of like that. I think that's good. The button's on the side, not on the top. I like that because when you wear it, then it makes more sense to me. I've always felt that hitting buttons on the side like this doesn't make sense. So I like that. You can see that it now has 3 emitters. Let's take a look. That's how they're going to get their claimed 3,000 lumens. And this black spot up here is a proximity sensor. It can be disabled, no fear. All right. So, and we talked about the fact that it is a 21700 battery. Here you go. So there's the battery, and it is, in fact, a proprietary cell with both poles on one side. But if you notice when I pulled it out, and here's the good news, it went in backwards, and when it goes in backwards with the positive end towards the tail, what does it usually mean? That usually means that it will work with non-proprietary cells. Now, I tried this 21700 and had no luck because it's flat top. That makes sense. Then I was looking for a 21700 cell that would have a button top. I don't carry them, but there was one sitting in my Claris, so I threw it in, and wouldn't you know, there it is. Okay, so great news. You do not have to run their proprietary cell. Now, remember, if you want to use their magnetic charging, you got to use their proprietary cell. But off-the-shelf button top with unprotected is what you're going to want. You're going to want that unprotected because if it has a protection cell, I'm sure that when you go to turbo, the protection cell will trip and the battery will have to be reset. All right, let's get into the UI really quickly. So the UI is excellent. First off, it's got really great dual modes, meaning that if I click once, it goes to white, and it operates like I want here, meaning that when it's on, one click is off, one click is on. No press and hold BS, right? Now, when it's on, if you press and hold, you will cycle through the main mode groups. There is a hidden moonlight. So when it's off, you can press and hold and get to that moonlight. You see it's considerably lower, but it's not under a lumen. It's 5 lumens, just so you know. Call to moonlight, don't call to moonlight, it's 5 lumens. Now let's turn it off. There are red modes. And what I love about this, instead of pressing like long holds or something to get to it, which I always find confusing, now you just double tap for everything when it's off. So watch, double tap, red. Now when it's on, double tap again. It's actually pretty ergonomic. I mean, it feels good. I picked it up right away without reading the manual. I was like, this is awesome. There are all the things that you want and expect from the light, including lockout, so you can press and hold for a long time. Light comes on, goes off, it is now locked out. But here's something special. In lockout mode, when you press it, it comes on to notify you that it's in lockout mode. But did you notice the behavior? Watch again. It's as long as I'm pressing it, so it's momentary. I can signal in lockout mode. That's pretty darn cool. Now you press and hold a long time, it'll flash like that, and now you're out of that momentary mode. It also has timer, which is a press and hold. It'll flash twice or once, indicating either 9 minutes or 3 minutes, just like on the Arcfeld series and other Olight lights. There is hidden blinkies. It's also detailed in the manual. So when you go into the white mode, you tap 3 times, goes to SOS, things like that. They do include a bounce sensor in the light now, and it is the best amalgamation of all the bounce sensors they've implemented so far, meaning that you can disable it. For some lights you couldn't. Also, it's an intelligent bounce sensor, meaning that it will only step down if it receives enough light back into the sensor in the first second of it operating. If you turn it on to turbo and then you pass a branch or something, it's not going to step down on you later in use. Let me illustrate. So on camera, here we go. So bounce sensor is on. Now watch, I'm going to turn it on. Here, let's just make it low so it's obvious. There we go. Now I'm going to double tap and watch. It'll turn on to turbo and then bounce. Do you see that? See that? It went bright for a second and it came back down. Now that happened because it was in my pocket or something, right? Accidental activation. Now watch that when I turbo and it hasn't bounce sensored, right? Now when I come forward, it's not stepping down. In fact, I can feel the heat coming off it. So there's that delay. So that's perfect. Now, how you defeat it is like this, and it's good to defeat it because I'm going to go to the lumen tube in a second, the integrating sphere. So you're going to, from off, tap 15 or more times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Now that I've done that, it's off. So if I turn it to low and then double tap, yeah, it's just on turbo and I can feel the heat. So disabled, there you go. I just want to mention that the magnetic charging end has an extra powerful magnet so that you can go vertical on metal surfaces and this thing's not coming off. It's definitely more powerful than I've seen on other lights. So they put an extra beefy battery in there because they know this is going to be kind of a heavier light. Now, speaking of heavier, let's talk about weight because it is going to be used as a headlamp. So I feel like 200 grams is the absolute heavy light. And I feel like 100 grams is what I'm kind of targeting. If a light goes under 100 grams, it's super light. So somewhere between 100 and 200 is the sweet spot. Now, what I noticed about this light is with the battery included, it's at 150. Now, 150 isn't exceedingly heavy, but isn't lightweight to me. Then I took the battery out and when I was charging it, because I was charging an external battery charger, which you can actually. And the thing is I noticed how light the host was. And I went, I wonder what it's like without the battery. So I threw it into on the scale, and it turns out that the host is 70 grams, 75 grams or something. So fully a half of the weight is the 21700, and the light itself is extremely lightweight. When you get one in your hands, take the battery out and you go, oh. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I do not feel this is a heavy headlamp for its battery class, for the runtime you're going to get associated with a 21700. However, you can't get around the mass of the battery. So 150 isn't exactly lightweight. You decide. Some people that's just a judgment call. I like it. I'm fine with it. I could see some people saying, too heavy. What are you going to do? Let's go ahead and look at the lumen tube. I'm going to hit that so-called moonlight and press and hold. And you can see I'm reading 4 lumens. So it's definitely not sub-lumen. Now let's go to low. Okay. I got some light leak here, so take this with a grain of salt. But then there's the high, and the high is a really great 600 lumens. I mention that because highs can be 3, 4, 500. 600 is a little bit higher than what I usually want from a duty cycle high. I like that. Now let's take a look at the turbo runtime. Okay, I'm going to double tap, tap. There's your over 3,000 lumens. And we'll let it run for 30 seconds to see how this is for ANSI. Look at it just hold, just totally even at 3,084 or whatever it is. I mean, that's a sign of a really well executed driver. There was just no drop off. Still basically no drop off. We are about 5 seconds out from ANSI. The head where I'm holding it is starting to get kind of toasty. And we've hit ANSI. So you can see the light exceeds ANSI, and I'm going to pull it away. I know that some of you want to see, well, let's see if it drops off. Okay, it's starting to drop off. There you go. And I do not believe it drops off because of technical reasons, except for probably thermal management. The head is quite toasty. The good news, though, is the body is completely cool to the touch. It's all isolated around ridges of the head. So that makes sense. The emitters that are included in the headlamp are going to please some, but maybe not some others. They're high efficiency, high output, which usually means low CRI, and this is no exception. It is definitely low CRI. Let me go ahead and just grab a little sample really quickly here and then throw it under the camera. And you can see that we're running cool white, about 6,000, almost 7,000. But look at this. It's almost dead neutral. And in fact, I found that it was dead neutral at all levels or even a little bit rosy. So it's, low CRI, but that just means efficient emitters. I would argue that for a headlamp in a working environment, most working environments, you do want efficiency. But if you're like a tattoo artist and you're looking for like high color rendition, this would not be the light for you. Look for something with high CRI and preferably daylight tinted around 5,000, not around 6,000. But let me show you that it is not objectionable. So if you're going to be walking with it, I want to show you how it's not objectionable because I'll hit turbo here. And I'll click and look at that. See? It's always at or just a little bit below. And as I said, just kind of around 66, 67, so around 7,000. So it's definitely cool. Now, that leads me to something I did want to show you, though. Let's see if on camera you'll notice this. I have a true deep red emitter here that I use for astronomy work, the red for preserving scotopic vision at night. And I don't know if it's going to show on camera here, but can you see that this one is redder and this one is more orange? Again, I'm not sure if the camera's picking up quite right, but my eyes definitely noticed it as soon as I turned this on and went, that's not really a deep red. So just be aware that if you're using it for preserving scotopic vision, it might not be the way to go because, here we go, let's get a red going here. There we go. You can see that it is around 630 nanometers, which really isn't a true deep red. Compare it against this Lumens SST20 DR, and you'll see that this one's right at 650, which is what you'd want for a true deep red. All right, so I didn't bother to take any beam shots. Why? It's a floody light. It's just floody. It's just a soft, circle of light that's very analogous to the way the arc feld looks. The spots are about the same size. So there you go. Not throwy, floody. However, I will mention that with 3,000 lumens, that does give you enough oomph to make it further than you might expect. So on turbo, this light does go a little farther than you'd expect from something like an arc feld. But again, it's not a thrower. This is a close-up to mid-distance light, and you want that floody cone of light when you're working close up. A little hot spot, a little narrow like laser beam is just no good when you're working close up. So there is my Perun 3 thoughts. And if you want to get one, there's links to all the new products released this weekend in the description. And as always, thanks for stopping by and watching my review, and I'll see you in the next one.